as I usually do. Once again, just thank you to all of our Global Smarts mentors for joining us today. Really excited to be with you all Thursday, March 25th. Let's go ahead and get started. Would anybody like to motion to open today's session? Chris, you want to go ahead and motion to open today's session?
I motion to open today's session.
The delegate, Mr. Kaiser, is recognized. His motion to open today's session is confirmed, and today's session is officially open. Okay, thank you for that. We'll get started. I'm going to just jump right in with our typical kind of first thing that we do. I would love to hear from you all about any little successes that you've had this week as we've started to move through this semester. I hope that this hasn't gotten stale for you guys. This is really a great opportunity for me to hear from you all just about some things that have been, productive and positive in your work with your students, your personal or educational lives, whatever it is. I think it's a great opportunity just to remember that, there are little successes in the world, even if we have up and down days or weeks. So does anybody want to jump in here with a little success that they've had from this past week? Yeah, Dan, go ahead.
I just finished sending a lot of internship applications out. It was kind of a hectic, very labor-intensive process. So I'm glad to be done with all that now. Yeah, congratulations. Yeah, sending out applications. I always say applying for full-time jobs applying for jobs or internships is a full-time job in of itself. So yeah, you're pulling double duty applying for all that stuff. So snaps for Dan for getting all those applications out. Well done. Anybody else want to jump in? Yeah, Dana.
I took a big midterm today that was kind of stressing me out for the whole week, but it's done now. I don't feel too bad about it. Definitely studied a lot, so I'm glad I can kind of, that's out of the way. Yeah, great job. Often the stress and anxiety leading up to those exams is always just more trouble than the exam actually is in of itself. I hope you did well, Dana. I'm sure you did. Congratulations for finishing that. Does anybody else want to jump in here? Any little successes that they've had from the week?
This isn't for myself, but my brother decided where he's going to college yesterday. So that was very exciting.
Oh, great. Where's he going to college?
He's going to Clemson, which is not really where I wanted him to go, but that's okay. I'm very excited for him.
Yeah, that's great. Clemson is a great school. Georgia, right? Clemson's in Georgia?
It's in South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yeah, but he needs the warm weather, so it'll be good.
Yeah. I went to the University of Wisconsin, which is not warm weather and very different than Clemson, although they're probably similar vibes, actually. Anybody else want to jump in? Any little successes that you guys have had, or siblings, co-mentors, parents, anything of the like?
I have a similar one to Sarah. Actually, one of my family friends who's a senior right now is visiting this Saturday. It's actually coming up. She doesn't understand that she has already committed yet, but she will once I talk to her on Saturday. It really is a done deal. She's a future hawk, and I can't wait to welcome her. And I'm getting free lunch with them, so that is a success. Yeah, great job, Victoria. Probably the great pitch. One of the best pitch people for a university are the students themselves. So Victoria, I've no doubt that you're going to be welcoming that family friend into the Hawk universe. Is there like a word for the Hawk universe, or is it Hawk family? I don't know. Hawk Hill. And for the Temple students, what do you guys have? Is there some sort of like collective noun for Temple students? Owls?
I guess just the owls, yeah.
You guys are just the owls. Well, great job, Victoria. Well done. All right, unless anybody else wants to jump in here, we'll just keep on moving. I'll be doing some brief screen sharing here. It's a little bit longer than brief, but we will just get started. So we're going to start with resolution writing. That's going to be the topic of today's session with you guys. I know that we had discussed resolution writing in the past kind of briefly, and then all of you were able to see or attend the Junior Model UN prep conference where we covered resolution writing with students. I'm going to quickly go over that today. We're going to write a very brief resolution ourselves. I want you guys to have practice in our class setting here, writing a resolution, so that you guys all have at least one opportunity collectively to write resolutions before yours are due. It's really the second deliverable that I'm asking for you guys to do. Everybody did a great job on the position papers, and I want to just make sure that you guys feel comfortable writing a resolution. So the basics of writing a resolution: it is a written statement expressing an opinion or recommending specific solutions or actions to be taken on an important issue. Essentially, within the United Nations, the resolution is the vehicle for policy change. It is, in the United States Congress, we have bills that turn into laws. Resolutions are one of the main vehicles for policy change within the United Nations. So writing quality and coming, just from a perspective of policymaking and policy writing, it can be very tricky, and specifics matter, generalizations matter. How you write resolutions or bills or laws really is a significant challenge at times, because, and then this goes into the whole, public policy thing. Implementation matters. Who's responsible for what? So really getting down into the specifics of who's responsible, what they're responsible for. It really is at the heart of policy making. So we're not going to go into hard public policy stuff really in this course at all. But if that interests you, I encourage you to look into some public policy courses or master's degree or anything like that. The resolution really identifies the issue at hand, which is in the Pre-Ambulatory Clause, and presents solutions to that issue in the Operative Clause. Resolutions are drafted by single countries or by groups of countries with similar goals. Oftentimes, it'll be a group of countries that comes to the UN presenting certain solutions that they have previously agreed upon that kind of mirrors their national goals. Those countries have been tasked with finding a coalition of nations to support their resolution. Once you get into bringing on other nations to your kind of preferred policy position, politics ensues. For better or for worse, bargaining, debating, horse trading. These are all things that occur often in closed rooms, behind the scenes, that many people don't get to see or experience. Again, for better or for worse, there are some people would say that there are some benefits to that, and some people would say that there are some drawbacks to that. Again, there's some really interesting kind of philosophical content that you can get into in public policy, especially when it comes to content area experts and also known as lobbyists to an extent, and their role in the drafting of legislation, or in this case, resolutions. I'll just leave it at that. Politics ensues, and in our setting, a simple majority is enough to pass a resolution. So I'm just going to run through a very quick presentation on resolution writing. And of course, it's going to take a couple minutes to start because it's when I need it to go fast that it always goes slowest. A resolution, again, is a written statement expressing an opinion or recommending certain actions presented by a single country or a group of countries. And often this includes some amount of diplomacy, politics, compromise, however you want to frame it. There's probably different ways you can frame it depending on what you feel about the issue at hand. Are you guys able to see my Teams notification here on the bottom right? Are you guys able to see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, You guys are going to look at our Teams notifications behind the scenes, I think, here. So apologies for that. I don't know how to turn that off in the means. It's probably worth turning off for you guys. Sorry about this. Give me 1 second. How do let me just close out of that. Hopefully that'll work. Okay. So we were talking about, how compromise is pretty integral to the resolution writing process. And we're going to look at a sample resolution right now. This is no different than what you guys saw in the Junior Model UN preparatory conference. I'm just going to quickly gloss over some of these things. A resolution is broken into 3 sections. The heading, still there, still the water cooler. Sorry about that, guys. The heading, the preambulatory clauses, and the operative clauses. So we're going to kind of go into all of these in specifics in just a second. But the overall resolution looks like this. It's essentially often a very short document that outlines specific issues and specific solutions that can be taken towards those issues. Part 1 is the heading. It identifies 3 components of a resolution. In this case, the committee is the to-line, who we're writing to. The sponsor is us, who we are, who's writing the resolution. So in this kind of mock resolution, we, the writers, are the student council. We are writing to the school administration, that's the committee line, on the topic of limited screen times in schools. That's the heading. The preambulatory clauses discuss background information on the issue. Why is the issue important? What's already been done? And why is it still a problem? You need to reference reliable sources. You can write one without sourcing. You could write a preambulatory clause without sourcing, but it's just not as firm. It's not as attention grabbing. It's not as rooted in facts and data, which, really a good resolution is rooted in those things. And often you borrow from reliable sources like the UN Charter and other, resolutions or laws or international laws. Just some formatting stuff. You italicize the first words at the start of each preambulatory clause, and you follow each preambulatory clause with a comma. A resolution can be thought of as one long, really long run-on sentence that just is separated by commas, semicolons, and then eventually a period right at the end. Here are the preambulatory clauses that were written using statistics provided by the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychology. Again, you guys have all seen this before, so I'm just going to quickly run through this. The issue at hand is that students are engaging with screens for 4 or more hours per day. There's just too much screen time for students. That is an issue because COVID-19 pandemic has increased the amount of screen time that students need in order to be, as successful as students. In order to get schooling, in order to get time with their teachers, they need screen time. So there has to be some sort of balance here, right? And we know through science and study from various psychologists and researchers that too much screen time can affect a student's social, emotional, and physical growth. So those are the issues at play here. Oftentimes we provide our students, and you guys will have access to this as well, preambulatory clause vocabulary that you can use. I often say to our students that the choice of words matters, that extends, not only in Junior Model UN setting, it matters in every part of life. The words that we choose do matter often. And when you guys are writing your preambulatory and operative clauses, I encourage you guys to think about what language you guys are using and how, especially these introductory words, matter to kind of the content and thought that you are putting behind the preambulatory and operative clauses. There are significant differences between these. And you guys are all smart enough to know for a middle schooler it's a little bit trickier, but I'm just trying to emphasize here that the choice of language is important when writing a resolution. Then there are the operative clauses. Operative, the key word there is operate. It's the action that we're going to take in order to solve the issue. It proposes reasonable solutions that the committee and/or UN member countries can enforce. This is somewhere where I do want you guys to focus as college students. What what is reasonable? A lot of the times the actions that our students propose are, really solid, thoughts. Their idea of what reasonable is, a little, I hate to use the word naive. I'm not going to use that word. It's just, they don't have the concrete, knowledge that they need to kind of understand what a fully reasonable solution to an issue is, and something that's enforceable also. While you're writing your operative clauses, you might want to think of methods of enforcement also. How are these going to be enforced? What is a reasonable solution for a variety of countries? Remember, you're writing from the perspective of your assigned country. So when you're asking, if you are a country like the United States or Great Britain or China, a fairly developed, wealthy country, what are you asking less developed countries with smaller budgets to do? Is it reasonable for them to do? Can you get a large enough pool of countries to agree to what you're trying to enforce? When you guys write your pre-ambulatory and operative clauses, I want you to have these things tucked away in your mind. Is what I'm producing reasonable? Is it enforceable? And do I have a reasonable shot at getting a majority of countries on board? Each operative clause should directly correspond with a pre-ambulatory clause in that order. So the first pre-ambulatory clause should correspond to your first operative clause as well, second with second, third with third, and so on. Again, just a formatting thing, your first action word or first couple of words should be underlined, and each operative clause ends with a semicolon, with the last clause ending with a period. So that is, and here's just a quick snapshot of the pre-written operative clauses in that example resolution. Again, we're not going to go into this really at all because this is just an example. I think you guys probably all get this already. So apologies if this is the second, third time you guys have heard this. Again, operative clause vocabulary that's presented to you guys. Think about what your vocabulary you use, especially in terms of policy writing and policy making. The vocabulary that you use is incredibly important as well when you're thinking policy writing, policy making. Again, just this image shows the correspondence between the first preambulatory and first operative clauses, so on and so forth down the line. Okay, we're going to practice ourselves. I want to thank all of you guys who sent in as topics for us to debate. I've selected this one right in the middle, ensuring access to shelter and or safe housing for all. In a second, I'm going to just minimize my screen, copy this for you guys. I've got to stop sharing for this. I can't do this all while sharing. Here is handouts 1 through 5. This is something you guys have all seen before if you attended the Junior Model UN Prep Conference. You can, the vast majority of this is not important for you guys. What I really want to do here is have you guys have handout number 3 available to you guys, where you could fill in the various sections with our preambulatory and operative clauses. In a second, I'm going to have you guys write your own preambulatory and operative clauses. Just like our Junior Model UN Prep Conference, I'll give you guys the first one, so you guys only have to do 2, little break there, and then you guys can download those later. You guys can also open a Word document and just do this on a separate Word document if you want. I would encourage you guys to do this. I'm not going to force you guys to send me what you write right now, but this is just good practice for you guys, and I'm just asking you really just to humor me for a little bit while we go through this exercise. You guys will have to write your own resolutions upcoming. So they're due April 16th, I believe. That's 3 weeks from tomorrow. So just know that this is good practice for that. In a second, I'm going to drop another link in here. I will share my screen one more time with you guys, though. Where are we? Oops. Sorry. We'll do the heading together. So if you guys, you should be able to figure out how to, both have my presentation open and handout number 3 if you'd like, or the separate Word document. If not, you should be able to just kind of follow along for a second while we go through the heading and then input this information later. So what is the committee in this setting? Well, we are going to be writing to the General Assembly. And again, I'm just going to give you guys this information so you don't have to wrestle with it at all, although you're probably not really going to wrestle with this because it should be fairly straightforward. We're going to be writing to the General Assembly. Again, that's the committee line. Our topic line is ensuring access to shelter and or safe housing for all. And our sponsor is whatever your assigned country is. Again, when I say your assigned country, some of you guys have been assigned multiple countries. I encourage you just to pick one that you're going to be writing from the perspective of. If it's the same one that you wrote your position paper from, that's fine. Doesn't matter to me. Just pick one of your assigned countries to write from the perspective of. This is a good opportunity to think, if you've been assigned 2 countries, how would they write a resolution differently in this order? How would a representative from Thailand write a different resolution or propose different solutions than a representative from Guatemala or from Sweden? These places all have very different views on the issue at hand, and obviously they're all working together to solve them. But how they go about solving those things might differ drastically depending on your country. So just pick one of your assigned countries and go through this exercise in the mental framework of one of your assigned countries. So the pre-ambulatory clause, again, answers the question, why is it important? What has already been done and why is it still important? It's supported by facts and data from reliable sources. And we're going to write I'll write the first one for you guys, and then I'll give you 5 minutes to write your own 2 preambulatory clauses. So the preambulatory clause that I wrote says, deeply concerned that in 2015, approximately 1.6 billion people worldwide lived in inadequate housing conditions. Of course, I forgot to put a comma on the end of that. Apologies, but you guys can go ahead and just write this into preambulatory clause number 1 box in handout number 3, or again on your separate Google Doc or Microsoft Word doc, whatever you guys are working on. And in a second, I'll show you where I got that data from. But I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to write 2 more preambulatory clauses on this issue of addressing ensuring access to shelter and or safe housing for all. I'm going to ask for some delegates to share. I would love to hear from about 2 or 3 of you. I don't want to have to call on people, but I do want to hear from about 2 or 3 people. So again, I encourage you guys to volunteer rather than having me call on you guys. Things to consider: what other facts or statistics would further elevate this issue to the forefront of international concern, right? The United Nations is dealing with a number of issues. Housing is, of course, a really important one, but there are many other important ones. How can you elevate this issue to the forefront of international concern? And just, a smaller concern is, what groups are we most concerned about not having access to shelter? And just, something to think about while you write your preambulatory clauses. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and drop into the chat a wonderful presentation that I found on housing from the United Nations Human Settlements Program. Where's my chat feature? This has data and statistics for you guys to write your preambulatory clauses from. It's got a lot of information in there. You should be able to scan, like the first couple of slides have good facts and data for you guys. But you're also encouraged to Google your heart out on different statistics and facts that you could write your preambulatory clauses on. Okay, I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to write 2 more preambulatory clauses. You can use, again, that PowerPoint that I dropped in there, or you can, go off and do your own research in the next 5 minutes or so. Okay, but I'm going to just kind of fall silent a little bit. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me or just, ask me over the chat, or use your voice here, but we'll give you guys 5 minutes. I got 5:27. We'll go to 5:33 on my clock. So good luck, and I'll see you guys in a second.
Eric, can you put yours back up on the screen?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The clause that you wrote. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Great job. Thank you, Victoria. Where are we? There we are. You know what? I'll go so far as do this. There you go. Giving it to you guys directly in the chat. Okay, didn't get any messages about needing more time, so I'll just call it there. Thank you guys all for writing your 2 preambulatory clauses. Does somebody want to jump in here and share one of their preambulatory clauses that they wrote? Yeah, Dan, go ahead.
I said intensely alarmed that 883 million people across the world live in communities considered slums.
Yeah, great. All writing these preambulatory clauses kind of feel like a and then what, right? Because we haven't wrote our operative clauses yet. But yeah, that's a great one, Dan. Thank you. Mia, you want to go next?
Yeah, so I said more than 828 million people in the global south were living in substandard housing with uncertain property rights, with limited access to basic services such as clean water, toilets, electricity, and garbage collection.
Yeah, great. So highlighting the global south and persistent issues of housing, adequate housing in the global south. Thank you, Mia. Does anybody else want to jump in here for another one? Gianna, want to go ahead?
Conscious of the fact that 150 million people estimated to be homeless worldwide may lack other basic human rights such as work, healthcare, social security, privacy, education, and access to justice.
Great. So linking the issue of homelessness or unhoused, being unhoused with other human rights issues, including privacy, right to work. You just named like 15 of them that I can't remember. But yeah, a great one, Gianna. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And great job, everybody else. If you didn't get an opportunity to share, that's okay. We're going to move right along to our operative clauses. So let's see, let me just present real quick. So we're going to move on to our operative clauses. Just real quick refresher. The operative clauses respond directly to the preambulatory clauses that we just wrote and answers the question, how are we going to solve the issue presented in the preambulatory clause? Suggests the action that should be taken to solve that issue, kind of like what I just said. And then again, proposes reasonable solutions that can be enforced as well. Operative clauses should directly correspond to a preambulatory clause. I will give you guys my first operative clause in response to my first preambulatory clause that I wrote. So my preambulatory clause was deeply concerned that in 2015, approximately 1.6 billion people worldwide lived in inadequate housing conditions. I wrote, suggests that the United Nations establishes a new fund dedicated to funding safe and secure housing projects in the 30 most vulnerable nations. That I wrote today. You'll notice that it's probably not the best operative clause ever written. I did that on purpose so that we're not going to do it today. We're going to talk down the road a little bit about amending resolutions because that's what your students will ultimately be doing during the final conference. So I left a little bit of, for lack of a better term, like meat on the bone here that we can use to in future sessions amend this resolution. But that's the operative clause that I gave you. You guys should be writing operative clauses that are as concrete and polished as possible. So mine being a little bit not perfect. Don't follow that. Don't follow that exactly. Try and write something a little bit more polished than mine. Mine was intentional. Okay, so again, we're going to give you guys 5 minutes to write 2 operative clauses in response to those 2 preambulatory clauses that you wrote. Again, I'm going to ask for some delegates to share. This time, I'm going to ask for you guys to let us know your nation, also the country that you're representing, because I'm interested to see what your policy proposals would be like, depending on the country's perspective that you're writing from. So, just something that I'm going to ask for you here. Again, are they reasonable actions? Can you get a majority of countries to agree on this proposed solution? And are you addressing the issue, the outcome at issue, or the root cause? Again, another issue here that we can talk about probably at length, solving kind of what the issue manifests as, or the root cause of it. Are we able to solve the root cause during in this resolution format, or do we simply have to just try and solve the kind of surface level issue, and we are unable to solve the root issue at hand? That's kind of foreshadowing a little bit, something that we might do. We might not have time for it, but a future debate, or maybe we did this in the past, a debate on the efficacy of the United Nations addressing root causes, something that I think we touched on, but we didn't really fully talk about. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing. I will paste into the chat in just a second my my operative clause, so that you guys can fill out your handout number 3 if you'd like. Again, it's okay to write this on a separate piece of paper. I'm not collecting these or anything like that, but it might be nice to have just to have something kind of written for you. Dan, do you have a question? Was that a hand?
Yeah. Are we responding to the clauses that we just wrote?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so whatever 2 preambulatory clauses you wrote, you're writing 2 operative clauses in response, or in response, I guess, to.
And then you also, like, from the perspective of our country too.
Exactly, from the perspective of your assigned country. So whatever solutions you propose should probably fall into line, not probably, should fall into line with how your country perceives the issue as well. We didn't really talk about countries that can kind of throw a wrench in the system sometimes, which includes the US, not just foreign countries, I should say that. So yeah, do your best to write a resolution regardless of whether your country would be the country to throw a wrench into the system. If that was confusing at all, I apologize. You could just ignore that. Okay, you guys have 5 minutes to write your 2 operative clauses. We'll go till 5:45. Good luck. DM me, or just let me know if you have any questions. Okay, I had some radio silence there, so I'm hoping everybody's finished writing their operative clauses. I would love for some volunteers to read out their operative clauses. I'm going to ask that you tell us your assigned country, and then read out your preambulatory clause, and then your operative clause. Only one, not both. So just country, and then your preambulatory clause and your operative clause. Okay, Dana, you want to go first?
Yeah, so my country is Afghanistan, which I'm not super familiar with their housing situation, but just for background. And so my preambulatory clause is alarmed that 15 million people are forcefully evicted every year. And then my operative clause calls upon the UN to investigate rental agreement practices to ensure that no tenant is wrongfully evicted.
Very interesting. Okay, so renter rights, I guess, is probably the category there. And thank you for that. Yeah, so I guess one of the difficulties here is that you probably haven't studied your country's relationship to this topic. So you guys are doing this kind of very off the kind of the top of your heads a little bit, which is totally fine. Again, this is all practice. When you write your real resolutions, you'll be writing from the perspective of your assigned country on the issue of ensuring healthy lives and well-being, which is something that we've been talking about or studying or whatever for a few months now. So you should be a little bit more versed in that topic. But Dana, great job. Thank you for that. Do we have any other volunteers? Does anybody else want to jump in here?
I can go.
Oh, thank you, Bella. Go ahead. Country and then preambulatory and then operative.
I have Thailand. So my preambulatory is conscious of the fact that 22 million people are annually displaced due to climate-related events. And then my second one is encourages the UN to establish and implement more effective disaster management policies to prevent the destruction of property by natural disasters.
Excellent. So linking in climate change here, that's great. And I assume from that Thailand, and this is where my kind of lack of knowledge might kind of trip me up here, but I'm assuming here Thailand is affected by a number of typhoons and environmental issues that cause housing disruptions within your country, or at least to the best of your knowledge. Yeah. Good job, Bella. Thank you. Thank you. Do we have one more? Let's go with one more. Does anybody else have anything? One last person. Yeah, thanks, Dan. I appreciate it.
No problem. So my Zambia, and so I'm just gonna use the same clause that I used last time. So for a refresher, my preambulatory clause intends to alarm that 883 million people across the world live in communities considered slums. Then my operative clause, the United Nations ought to establish global community building requirements that urge and insist countries to take immediate action on providing federal assistance to these slum neighborhoods and regions.
Excellent. Yeah, fantastic. So creating some framework for acceptable housing conditions, I guess is the way to put that. You are putting the burden on the federal governments of the agreeing countries to enact that. So that's very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, great job all around. Thank you to all of you for participating, and then special thank you to those of you who read your clauses. I appreciate it. Volunteering is not the easiest thing, but I just want to say thank you guys to those of you, for everybody, and then especially to you who volunteered your efforts. Okay, I'm going to quickly screen share. We're coming up to our break really quickly. Just looking ahead a second. Your resolutions are due Friday, April 16th. That is, again, I think 3 weeks from tomorrow. The topic is ensuring healthy lives and promoting well-being for all. It's from the perspective of your assigned country, your choice of assigned country as always. What I'm gonna do, and this is a little like kind of inside baseball is one way to put it, I guess. What's going to happen is you guys are all going to submit your resolutions on Friday, April 16th. What I do is I'm going to read through all of them, just like I would your position papers, but I'm going to kind of cut and paste clauses, both preambulatory and operative, that I think are particularly interesting for us to look at together. So we're going to conduct our formal final conference on Thursday, April 22nd. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut and paste your or 3 really good clauses that I think are going to make for good debate, for good amending, for good conversation. And I'm going to kind of Frankenstein those together into one resolution. This is pretty much exactly what we do for our students during the final conference. We look at all the resolutions that are submitted by students on a particular program day, and then we kind of cut and paste different clauses together to create a resolution that we think makes for a really good and interesting debate and discussion. So we're basically going to do that for your final conference. I'm going to, again, cut and paste different clauses into a resolution that we're going to debate. In terms of what that Thursday, April 22nd is going to look like, it is going to be a formal final conference. There will be, you guys will all be delegates representing your countries, and I will, there will be some co-chairs who are formally kind of running this session, whether that's me or we bring in an outside co-chair. That's kind of TBD right now. We're going through the whole co-chair process on our end. That's not something you guys have to worry about. But essentially what I'm trying to say here is you guys are going to get the exact same experience that your students do about 3 weeks or so prior to their final conference experience. So you should be able to kind of have exactly what your students will experience kind of tucked away in the back of your head as we go through the final couple weeks in preparation for the final conference. Okay, so after that we're going to move on to session 9. I've got 5:53 on my phone here. We'll take a 5-minute break and be back at 5:58. Does that work for you guys? I think 5 minutes is probably good, right? Okay, 5:59. I got 5:54 on my phone now. So 5:59, we'll join all back together and finish out our session. Thanks, guys. Jump back in. So come on back. Thank you guys all for participating today. Again, I appreciate you guys giving your time to me. I know that you're kind of required to be here, but I still do appreciate you guys joining every week. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen once again. Apologies for taking over. And we're going to look at session 9. So this is likely to be your first post-spring break session. I've had some conversations with teams kind of here and there, but I kind of want to reset our expectations as an entire group. I think that is this is a good opportunity to do that. This is a good opportunity to reset your expectations with your students and start looking forward to the final conference. Now that we've been working together with our students for about 2 months, you guys have a decent idea of what we can reasonably expect from our students in the next 5 weeks or so. Again, the next 5 weeks are probably the most challenging. Weather is warming up. Students may or may not be going back to school. This is going to be an even more difficult time to capture student interest and attention. And so I kind of want to harken back to what our kind of core fundamental thought of what the Global Smarts program is meant to be this year. At its heart, it's really meant to be a fun, positive experience for our students. I know that we've spent a lot of time talking about position papers and parliamentary procedure and resolutions, and some of our students are feeling a little bogged down in some of those things. It is totally okay to throw out the door or throw out the window things that you don't feel like are going to work with your students. At this point, you guys know your students, your faculty advisor, your sessions better than anybody else. So I'm comfortable giving you guys the power to do what you think is best with your students. What do they need, and what can we reasonably expect from them in the next 5 weeks or so? Something that I've talked with some groups about, but I want to just kind of offer it carte blanche to all of you guys, is changing your sessions, if it fits to do this, into some sort of global exploration. That's kind of what I'm calling it right now. Doing a deep dive into one of your assigned countries, including the food, music, dance, clothing, arts, geography, city life, rural life, just kind of anything that you feel like would increase your students' understanding of a foreign place. If that's all our students get from this, program, that's okay with me. If they just have a better understanding of what life is like in Kenya or India or Russia or wherever, that's all that I can really ask for out of this program. You know, we can't ask for, my expectations for our students in this year's program are just, we can't, you know, ask them to do every single thing that we would have done in previous years. And perhaps it was on me earlier to recognize that we are, that this year is significantly different. Obviously, I recognize that. My hope was to keep this year as close to previous years as possible. For some schools, that's not going to work. And that's okay. That is okay. And that's not a failure on your part. That's not a failure on my part. You know, for a while I was like, oh, man, this is kind of like, it was hard on me knowing that we're not going to do the same things that we did last year. That's okay. You guys, I just want you to focus on making these last 5 weeks or so a fun, positive experience for your students. Does that include more quizzes, games, Kahoots, Jeopardy, whatever you guys think is going to work with your students? I encourage you guys to pursue that. Is it just scrolling through Google Maps? This is something that, you know, I do, and maybe this is just like a bizarre thing to do, but just look at countries' geographies through their through Google Maps. You know, where are their cities? Where are their border cities? What major waterways are there that go through the city? You know, you could tie these into current events. Also, what's going on in the Suez Canal right now is super interesting and actually has really significant you know, global repercussions on trade and all that. Like, you don't have to go in that with your students. It could be as funny as, like, you know, that's just a large boat sideways in a canal. Like, it can be as silly as that. That's fine. But I encourage you guys to figure out, you know, what you can do with your sessions to make them, you know, educationally valuable in some way, but more fun and exciting for your students. With that, some of you are still able to kind of continue on doing what we've done in previous years, which is continuing to write position papers or starting to transition to writing to resolutions. Resolutions are really the heart of the Junior Model UN program. I had a conversation with, you know, one of our schools that are struggling to write position papers and are you know, afraid to an extent that their students won't even be able to write resolutions. What my response to that is that we could still have our students write resolutions, even if we are holding their hands through the vast majority of writing a resolution, even if it's you guys writing the pre-ambulatory clauses for your students, that's okay. If you just write the pre-ambulatory clauses for your students, and we're talking about, say, maternal health, we can, you know, give them all the facts and data that they need in order to write or pre-write pre-ambulatory clauses for them. And then what we do is we spend, you know, our time together where we're, you know, where we're working on resolutions with our students, having conversations about what particular actions are in response to the pre-ambulatory clauses that you have pre-written for them. So again, kind of using this idea of maternal health, your pre-ambulatory clauses might be about the need for increased numbers of midwives, doulas, or reproductive health counselors in, you know, your or certain countries or certain areas of the world. You know, maybe you have a conversation with your students about why that is so necessary. Why is it important to have midwives and doulas and medical professionals that are specifically focused on maternal or neonatal health? Why is that in and of itself such a specific medical field? Well, because women and fetuses have specific needs, health related, you know. So doing a deep dive into the issue, but really essentially holding their hands through the entire process. My goal is for you and for all the students in our program to write a resolution, even if it is even if it is primarily written by you guys. That is okay. That's not something that I'm concerned about. down here at the bottom, I have resolutions are the cornerstone of the junior model UN program. They definitely take precedence over position papers. Some of you will be able to have your students write both position papers and resolutions. If you're able to, I commend you and I tell you to continue having your students do that. For those of you who can't, that is okay. I really hope you don't take that personally. It is just a school by school, student by student thing that we're going to try and work through for the rest of this semester. Again, I want to just highlight that you're going to need to communicate with your faculty advisor about due dates in class versus out of class work. The next time we're going to see our students is likely in early April. What can be accomplished by then? Again, looking ahead for the next couple of sessions, Monday, March 29th to Friday, April 2nd is spring break for our students. You likely will not be having sessions next week with your students. If you haven't confirmed that yet, you really should confirm that with your faculty advisors. Report card conferences are the week after. Does that affect your sessions? You should check with your faculty advisor. It may or may not. And then again, our final conference dates in May. You should confirm that you are free and available during your final conference date, because we will ask you to staff that program. These virtual programs with breakout rooms are going to require just a number of staff that we don't have in the education department, or frankly at our organization. Our education department is 3 people, and without the help of our interns every semester, we wouldn't be able to do like a quarter of the programming that we do. So you guys will need to be available for your final conference dates. And I'll talk a little bit about other final conference dates that you could potentially attend in the future as well. With that said, kind of just circling back to session 9, there is no fundamental or comprehensive lesson plan for next week or for your next session. This is an opportunity for you guys to write your position, or continue writing your position papers, transitioning to your resolutions, or just doing any of these things that I mentioned on this slide that can increase the fun, the interest level, the engagement with your students for the next couple of weeks. So I know that might be a little bit uncomfortable. We've been giving you guys lesson plans for the vast majority of this program, for all of this program so far. So this is something new. You guys don't have anything pre-written to fill your time, but at this point, you know your students very well. You know where they are, where we would like them to be, and you have a couple of weeks here to kind of plot out how you're going to get from where we are now to where you want to be. Again, if where you want to be is in 5 weeks, you've written pre-ambulatory clauses for your students, and all we've done is kind of talk through operative clauses, and you've even had to help them write their operative clauses. That is okay. That is okay. So again, a little bit of uncertainty with not having a concrete lesson plan, but that is I think going to be all right for you guys as you kind of plan these sessions for the next couple of weeks. We'll get back to this in a second. So I wanted to actually pause here. I'm going to give you guys about 15 minutes to meet as your groups. Logan, do we have the breakout rooms set up?
We do indeed.
Okay, great. So I'm going to send you guys to your breakout rooms for about 15 minutes. We'll come back into this main room at 6:25. I'll bounce around to a couple of you guys. If you have any questions, or if you would love for me to join your group, just send me a DM real quick, and I will, before you go into your breakout sessions, and I'll try and jump around to as many as possible. Okay, Logan, you can go ahead and open the rooms, and I will hopefully see you guys in your breakout sessions soon.
Gotcha.
Great, thanks, Logan. Awesome. Okay, I see Cook Wissahickon. I'll jump to you guys first.
Did you guys happen to pop out the Zoom and pop back in?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. I'll get you in the right place. Just give me a second.
If we're gonna miss any.
Hey,
Yeah.
Cook.
Hi.
How you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. What can I help you with?
So we're just having like some trouble with our teacher, just like communication and stuff. We've been like getting links late and whatnot, so that's been kind of difficult, shortening our time. We've had like 30-minute sessions before. And right now we asked him to like set up a meeting because Cook Wissahickon is having half days on Fridays. And we didn't find out until a student told us about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So we're kind of worried about how that may affect us. We're not sure if like the kids just won't show up or what's going to happen from there.
And we've also like seen a lack of attendance recently in general. So I just feel like that compounding it. Like, I mean, what kid is going to show up if they're not in school, if it's an in-school program? Like they're just, so I think it's just been hard because our teacher, like we'll ask him several questions in an email, but we'll probably like only get one question answered, if that.
Yeah.
And he didn't answer our email about, because then we were thinking, all right, well, let's just schedule a meeting with him so then we can answer those questions in person.
I was just curious. So we're not moving the meeting to next Tuesday like we did the one time. There's just
No.
there's no meeting time, but we watch it on Zoom. You're listening to us. Okay.
Exactly. So you guys might have heard from Dr. Baglioni that I'll be taking your Tuesday session next week. That's not going to happen. I don't know her plans for that Tuesday session, but I'm going to record Thursday for one. So apologies for any miscommunications there. I don't know what Dr. Baglioni is prepared for you guys for that Tuesday. I think it's the 30th. I don't know the date off the top of my head, but no live session Thursday for one. Okay, great clarification there, Dan. I appreciate it. So we'll just jump right back in. Thursday, April 15th. So right before your resolutions are due, we're going to have kind of like a career day with the World Affairs Council of Philadelphia. I'm going to be moderating-ish a discussion between a couple of our senior staff members who have pretty extensive careers in the nonprofit sector and do really interesting things. We do kind of like a career exploration type session every year. I hope it brings some value to you guys. That's my sincere hope, is that you guys are able to pull something out of this. The three people that we'll be talking with are Haley Boyle, who is our Vice President of Programs. She is the person who puts on all of those expert speaker presentations that go on. There was one during this program. If you guys saw my Teams notifications, that's what was going on there. Haley is great at what she does. She is a one-person department and puts on dozens of these programs every year, pivoted to webinar format. She used to execute these programs in person, which are even more complicated than the webinar style programs. But she is a great person to talk to if you have any questions about, not only her career path, but and not only being the leader of a department, but executing like events-based programming. I'm not sure if anybody's kind of interested in that world. Events-based programming is a whole world that people dive into, and so if you have any kind of interest in that, she's a great person to talk to. She's also just really smart because she's got to learn about all of these topics to put together lines of questioning and along those lines. We also have Maggie Hassani, who is our Vice President of Membership and Development. If anybody's interested in the development world, she's a great person to talk to. I think both Haley and Maggie started as interns at the World Affairs Council, and over the past 5 or 10 years or so, have progressed all the way up to vice presidents at the council. So they are great people to talk to about career longevity in an organization. Maggie is a wizard at, or witch, I guess, at development and membership. Not only the corporate side of things, which Logan, our friend Logan here, is our corporate liaison who works with our corporate partners, but also individual donors as well. Board, working with our board and our large donor base as well. So if you have any interest in the development world, that is a great person to kind of pick her brain. Finally, we have Shoshanna Altrichter, who is the Vice President of Travel at our organization. This is an interesting time to talk about travel because COVID has been really impactful to our travel department. But we send our member base on trips around the world, including Italy, Israel. I went to New Zealand as part of a council program, really like everywhere, China, like Sweden, just pretty much everywhere in the world. Shoshanna is not only great at executing those travel programs. If anybody's interested in like international travel as a career, that is a great person to talk to. Shoshanna's department was also the one that was kind of most massively impacted by COVID. Programs, membership, education, we were all kind of able to pivot to an extent. Shoshanna's was just like kind of like cut down. And she would be a great person to talk to about like how to respond to essentially like crises in your professional environment. She's, probably she doesn't want to be known for that, but she's done a great job kind of pivoting to the best of her ability in a world where international travel just doesn't exist. All of a sudden you just wake up one day and international travel doesn't exist anymore. So that's our career day. We'll be talking about life in nonprofits as well. If anybody's interested in the nonprofit sector, we'll be talking about what it's like to work in a nonprofit, the good things, which there are many, and the bad things, which there are just a few. But every sector, whether that's for-profit, nonprofit, NGO, public sector, has positives and negatives. And I think it's a good opportunity to pick our brains about working in nonprofits. I'll be kind of like moderating that discussion. I'm not sure how much like moderation I'm going to do. But if anybody has any questions that they want to like make sure that I touch on, please feel free just to send those in advance, and I'd be happy to include that as much as possible. We have some extra credit opportunities coming up, including this mentor spotlight that I've kind of talked about. If you're interested in that, please take a minute, and I will include this on my Friday email to you guys that goes out, or Monday morning, depends. The mentor spotlight. Sorry, just writing that down so I don't forget. It's a great opportunity to just be spotlighted on the council's social media and marketing, just a little bit about yourself, your work in the Global Smarts program, and your career ambitions. Our board, our donors love to know who actually executes our programming. And, there's only 11 of us at the council now. And they love to hear, they know us already. So they love to hear about the interns and Global Smarts mentors that really make our programming run. You can also staff additional final conference dates. More on that in the future. Just a heads up that is an opportunity for you to get some extra credit as well, is to staff additional final conference dates outside of the one that you are assigned to. Upcoming speaker programs, Logan is going to drop these into the chat. Note that there is a new date for the Cost of Air Wars program that used to be 4/21, that is now 4/14. It's still a lunch program, but it's a week earlier. So if you had it on your calendar, please just update your calendar note there, because there is a date change. Super interesting one. I'll be attending that. I hope, at least, as long as I don't have a conflict, because I think I'm super interested in that topic. On 4/20, we have a webinar, Combating Climate Change, Making Green Energy Solutions Accessible and Affordable for All. Climate change, incredibly important, massively important. I encourage you guys to attend that one. And then 5/25, we have our negotiating with Iran, the US, the EU, and the future of the Iran nuclear deal. Again, a wildly important and interesting topic for you guys to join. I want to thank you guys who joined our and I'm going to stop sharing here. I want to thank you guys who joined the program with Elizabeth Fiedler. I hope you guys drew something out of that. She was a great speaker. I was unable to attend just because of a personal conflict, but from Kristen and Casey, I heard that it went really well. So just want to say thank you guys for attending. Thank you guys for attending this meeting. I appreciate it. And as always, I appreciate everything that you guys do. And at that, I'm just going to kind of leave it there. If you guys have anything that you want to talk about individually, feel free to stick around. If not, just have a great night. And I will see you guys. Well, I won't see you guys next Thursday, right? Because that's 4/1. I will see you guys the week after that. So this is so long. It's not goodbye. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. So have a great night, and I'll see you guys later.
Thank you.
Thank
you so much.
Good night.
Of course.
Thank you. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter. Take care. Hey guys, you got any questions or anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, so me, Callie, and Gabby